Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, a.k.a. man of the people, here, win, lose, or draw, or wish it was a bye week, right? Final score in this matchup today, the Buffalo Bills 4-0, 40 points, and the Carolina Panthers 9. Again, final score in this game today, Buffalo Bills 40 points, Carolina Panthers 9. A very, very disappointing loss today on many, many different fronts, right? So let's just talk about the obvious. We come off a 3-game winning streak, playing against the New York Jets. You knew today was going to be a tough matchup, a measuring stick, but you just didn't expect to go from whether the games were played out completely like you liked or not the past 3 weeks. The end result was a win. And so you felt like, and I said this at our pregame show, that the Carolina Panthers have entered that phase where any given Sunday they can win a football game. You don't look at it and say, okay, we're out of this one. So it's really, really shocking to see the results like they were today. I feel like no matter where you feel like Andy Dalton should have been today, that you didn't expect this kind of experience from Andy Dalton. A lot of things that you see veterans do when they come out there, they know they don't have the abilities that they had 10, 15 years ago, so they play the game a little bit more cerebrally. And you didn't see that from Andy today. So, nevertheless, you heard the stats about, on the other side, Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, being a great guy, coaching his team, getting wins after the bye week. I think 8-0 is what he had been previous to today. And then with that, Josh Allen had been 7-0, and now they're both respectively 9-0 and 8-0. So they're a very, very good team coming off the bye week. But, again, you see, and we're going to get into some details of everything today about how things went, and it was just very, very tough. What's up, Ant for Life? What's up, T Green? Sad loss. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So we're going to get started, as we always do, telling the story of the game today, right? Good, bad, and different. We just, our duty is to tell you the story that happened today. So you probably will see more Buffalo Bills photos than you like, but that's what happens when you lose 40-9. So let me go ahead and cue this up. We'll take this journey. Again, hats off to our photographer, Patrick Snyder, as he captures the photos from the game, gets those photos to us during the game itself, which is incredible, and then gets me all the images that I need for this show. So incredible job by him, not only getting the pictures to us quickly, but getting great photographs as always. So you guys ready for it? And remember, let me give an early plug to my Monday day after show. Every Monday or every day after the game, we do a show 100% dedicated to answering your questions, talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. So that show will air tomorrow at 7 p.m. I invite you guys to tune in and watch that show. And also, I know it's hard to ask in the middle of a loss, but we still try to get 3 super chats per game, per show. Help us continue to do what we do and bringing you the best coverage live before and after game on game day. So, and if you've already done so or not able to do so, subscribe or just like it. Helps the YouTube algorithm show us to other people and helps us continue to grow and do what we do. All right. As you guys may know, we're going to get into some stats, but it was a tough day for this guy right here, Andy Dalton. I forget the exact sack total. I know at one point it was 6 games, and now it may be – it was 6 sacks at one point during the game, and who knows what that finished up at. But here's Andy Dalton under pressure. And I'm going to say this about Andy Dalton today. So, I already alluded to saying that you expect him to play a little bit more intelligently, wisdom-wise, in his game, knowing where he is, knowing the game. And in our pregame show, Rashad talked about the fact that, the athleticism that you lose from Bryce to Andy. And Bryce isn't like super athletic, but he certainly uses his feet to find lanes, move around the pocket to get the ball downfield. And Andy Dalton today, he's not as agile as Bryce Young is, but you just figured that he'd compensate for that through the way he played. And today it seemed to me that he stood tall in the pocket, which you like to see, but when it was time to react, knowing that you are running out of time, you got that mental clock, 3, 2, 1, and it was that he should have made his decision just a little bit sooner about what he was going to do. Either go ahead and get that ball out or start moving. Because a lot of times that Andy was sacked today, it wasn't so much like he was on the go. I was about to try to get really animated, but I don't want to knock over my equipment. when Andy got sacked today, he was pretty much like a statue. He wasn't evading it at the time. So that's here for me with Andy. Let's go ahead and I see this comment that just stood out here. We should have ran Rico way more. I am definitely going to talk about Rico Dowdle and our use or lack thereof of Rico, because that boy just runs differently. All right, let's continue to go through it. And again, you're going to see, is this the same picture we just showed? I feel like this is the same picture I just showed. But nevertheless, that's our quarterback under pressure. And then here we have our guy Chuba Hubbard get the lone TD of the game late. And, hats off to Chuba for still running hard and getting that towards the end of the game. But here's my chuckle. Here's why I chuckled. Even though Chuba scored, and you're like, okay, we're still going to play this game to the end and get what we need to get. Well, we come out and we miss our extra point. So today was a lot of mistakes, and our photographs definitely tell the story. And this is a scene that we saw quite a few times today. Sorry, I had to take a drink of water there. Cook the third, cooking up a nice meal this Sunday in Carolina on one of his many scores. And you see, as he scores here, you barely see other Panthers in the frame. You see J.C. Horn, which is, if he's trying to stop a guy inside the red zone, that means he's coming from the edge to try to give some run support. And you just see a helmet on the right-hand side. Way too much going on there. Let's continue to show Andy Dalton under pressure with the fumble. So as you see here, his hand is unfortunately, I guess his elbow is going forward, but his hand is not going forward. An exceptional photograph here. Tells the story of the day. Andy Dalton, one of his 3 turnovers on the day. And all of his turnovers led to points by the Buffalo Bills. So that just was not helpful for us. And unfortunately, we got another highlight from Andy Dalton here. Even though Andy's not pictured here, this is the result of Andy. Fumble and recovered by the Buffalo Bills. He got to the 1-yard line thanks to Chuba Hubbard. He was able to put a stop on that, but that only delayed the inevitable, as the Buffalo Bills are the masters of the tush push as well, and they were able to score and get 7 points off of that turnover right there. And this is kind of weird, right? And I say this is weird because this photograph here shows Trevin Wallace kind of holding his elbow or arm after trying to make a tackle. And he came out of the game, which you knew he would come out of the game. But what you didn't know was that he was going to be evaluated for a concussion. So didn't see that coming, but nevertheless, Trevin Wallace left the game with a concussion. And that's the other part of the tough thing from today's game, right, is that you get a loss, you're getting some bad performance, and then you also see the injuries. We had like a slew of injuries. I'm going to run down that list of injuries here in just a second, but the Carolina Panthers had I can't say way too many because, it just happened, but we had a lot of injuries today on both sides of the ball, mostly on the offensive side by far. But a lot of bad stuff. It's like kind of like when it rains, it pours. That's what happened today for the Carolina Panthers for sure. You guys got some good comments coming here. Please keep the comments coming. I will try to get to them as many as I can toward the end of the show. And sometimes when you score, you celebrate, right? So here are the Buffalo Bills. This one, I guess, might have been the rare time that Cook didn't score. You got somebody else from the Buffalo Bills score, celebrating. And that's something that you're going to see quite a few times when you score 40 points. And here you see Bryce Young looking on as Andy Dalton is getting some instruction from Dave Canales. I'm not sure at what point of the game this was, but A little scene from today's game. Bryce Young looking on as Andy Dalton continues to get some instruction. You know, Bryce was his normal leader himself today, cheering for guys, you know, whether it was good play, bad plays, just talking to guys, trying to, you know, keep the morale up, try to keep them into this game, you know, doing what a leader should do. And Jalen Coker finally got back on the field today with some Carolina boy. Thanks for the super chat. I forgot about that, even though I did mention it one time. Our goal is 3 super chats each and every broadcast to help us keep the lights on and do what we do. As low as 99 cents is all you need to do. We also have Cash App. If anybody wants to do that, the Cash App is CVibe, in case anybody wants to or is able to do a Cash App to donate. But Jalen Coker here with his first catch. I'm not sure exactly if this was his first catch today because he had more than one. But certainly he got his first catch of the season today after missing the first 6 games. So that was something that was good to see with the Carolina Panthers. And this was a scene that you just kept seeing today. You just kept seeing this today. Again, James Cook III running wild, running rampant, running like Rico Dowdle was running. And like I said, we're going to talk about Rico Dowdle for sure because I have an opinion. I don't know if Coach Canales is going to listen to me or not, but this happened a lot today at Bank of America Stadium. And let me just say this in case you're wondering. Well, Chris, what did it look like at the stadium today? Were there many or any Buffalo Bills fans out here today? And I'm going to tell you that, yes, there was quite a bit of Bills Mafia. I don't know if they took buses, they had the whole plane, but it was I can't even say the split because, you know, both the teams have a common color, primary color of blue. And, of course, there's different shades of it, but you saw a lot of blue. I feel like it was a lot. I don't know if I want to say 50-50, but I would say if I say 50-50 in terms of the split for Bills and Panthers fans, I'm probably plus or minus 5% going to be pretty accurate. And, you know, to their credit, not, you know, just, again, I like to just tell you guys what happened. I'm not saying like they're the best fan base and we have the worst, okay? I'm just letting you know what the atmosphere was like. It was 5 minutes after the game. I would say of that 50%, a quarter of the Bills fans were still here. It was very, very full in the stadium behind me or the bowl around me, and they were standing. And they were not leaving until the last Buffalo Bill left the field. So that was probably a total like 10 minutes. But for a strong 5 minutes, it was a heavy presence of Buffalo Bills fans. So, you know, shouts out to them for having a good fan base and being that passionate. It's great when you see it on the Panthers side as well, right? And if you want to see a video of that, just go over to Twitter. I did put up a video of the Bills fans that were still here at the end of the game. Continue to work through these photographs. We got Rico Dowdle that got upended. Rico had a good game today. Rico had a better average than Chuba. Here's Rico with a good stiff arm. Man, this play right here was early on in the first half. I don't know the exact distance that Rico covered on this drive here, but I thought he was going to break this one. That stiff arm was good. Rico gives some good stiff arms too. All right, we just got our second super chat. Much appreciation. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on. Rico, and I'm going to give the super chats some more shout-outs specifically here in just a second. Rico has a pretty darn good stiff arm, man. And I saw him push a guy down like Derrick Henry does at one point. This one he wasn't able to push this guy down. He was still able to stop him from scoring. But Rico nevertheless had a very good run on this play right here. And I love the story that our photographer captures and tells by far, right? I got to give my photographer a little round of applause here. This right here is Andy Dalton's press conference. You know, kind of dark, and you see that right on the wall effort, enthusiasm, toughness, smart finish. We're going to get to some of the highlights of Andy's press conference here in just a second, but that's just a good picture to let you know what was going on in that press conference today and what that looks like. And here you have Josh Allen on the move. Josh Allen had a respectable day today, and I was most fearful of Josh Allen taking this game over at a point in which, let's say, it was going to be a close game, Maybe the Panthers were up by a little bit. Maybe the Bills were up by a little bit. I felt like this game was going to be a competitive game most of the way through, and I feared or had concern that Josh would say, all right, enough of this not working with the pass game. I'm just going to take over, step back, make the coverage drop back a little bit, and then I'm just going to run the ball. But instead, they were able to just get a completely dominating performance by James Cook III, and he didn't have to go into that mode today. All right. And Cook on his this probably was Cook's 65-yard touchdown run. Forget the exact yardage on it, but he had a long one. I mean, no telling how many yards this guy could have had if they had kept him in the entire game. We did get a little pressure on Josh Allen today. As a matter of fact, Trevor Wallace did get a sack on Josh Allen today, coming straight up the middle and taking him down. And then here's a photograph of Bryce Young pregame, looking on, checking out everything as he got ready to watch his Carolina Panthers take a bad loss today. So that's a look back at the photographs from today. And now we're going to go into our press conferences. We're going to start with Dave Canales here. I'm going to give you some highlights. Give me just a second to get this completely queued up and ready for you. Forgot to put on my headphones, so give me just a second, you guys. We're going to go over some of these snippets from Dave Canales in his press conference. All right. Check so I can hear. All right. We're going to go ahead and cut to Dave Canales' opening comments on the press conference, which he gives credit to the Buffalo Bills. You got to give them some kind of credit, right? 40 points is quite a bit. Here we go. Give me just a second here.
Fantastic day, and made some big runs. They consistently owned the line of scrimmage and made it challenging for us. We were not able to get our run game going today. Went to the pass game, and that's where the turnovers happened. Pretty clear story right there. We made it really hard on ourselves against a good team, and made it a really challenging situation for us. So we'd love to see better execution in those things, in those areas, and be able to move on from that.
All right, so next clip we're going to go ahead and play will be that of Coach talking about the running backs. Let me make a little change on the screen here for just a quick second, if I can. All right, no, we're just going to go back. I'm going to play another clip on the running backs and the tandem that he used between Rico and Chuba.
Nope, like the plan. Just looking for execution, and we have to be able to be balanced, with the pass game in those situations. And the turnovers really just got us out of our rhythm and, put us in a different mode.
All right, so one thing that was obvious today was James Cook got cooking, as they say. He did his thing tremendously. I usually don't show the other guys' stats too much on the rushing attempts, but let me see if I can quickly bring that up and share that with you guys. And we're going to talk about Canales and his observations from Cook running today. By the way, the New York Jets got their first victory of today, beating the Cincinnati Bengals. Final score in that game, 39-38. Let me see if I can quickly get to the stats. I'll tell you what, I'm going to come back to it here in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. This is on – actually, I got it in front of me right now. So we got our guy James Cook averaging a whopping 11.4 yards per rush. 11.4 yards per rush. Having such an historic game for the Buffalo Bills, that the last person for the Buffalo Bills to have such a good game, no, it wasn't Thurman. You got to go back. You got to go way back to Orenthal, I forget. But anyway, O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson is the last Buffalo Bills to have the kind of day that you saw today from James Cook III. And here's the clip that I now have for you of Coach Canales talking about the play of Cook. My internet, I guess, wants to not cooperate here as I cue this up, waiting for it to play. Come on. Live TV, this is what you get to see happening here. It does not want to play. All right. Give me a second. We'll try to get this clip to play that does not want to play. And let's try this again for a second time. All right, I think we're going to work this time. So now you're going to get the clip from Dave Canales on the play of James Cook. Here we go.
Just explosive play. I thought James Cook did an excellent job of
You're
being patient and just really slow playing. They did a great job up front, staying on their combinations, and didn't feel like we could collapse the backside of some of these runs. There were some cutbacks that got out on us, and the toss cracks, really were effective for them today. So stuff that we got to look at, and this is a copycat league, and teams are going to see that and try to attack us with those things. So we got to go back to the drawing board and make sure we're fitting all those up correctly.
All right, now we got one more comment from Dave Canales here on the emotions of the day with this game. All right, here you go. Canales on his emotions, confidence in the group, and where do we go from here? But here's Coach Dave Canales.
Scheme and answers for different pressure type of possibilities. I just have a lot of confidence in this group and the football that we've been playing, and knowing that wasn't us. What we put out there today was not us. That was not the ball that we've been playing that's allowed us to have success. I have a lot of confidence in this group to be able to turn around, take this as a loss. A loss is a loss. Let's fix the things that we can fix. Let's get refocused and get back to work.
All right, so that's all we're going to have from Coach Dave Canales. As he says, a loss is a loss. I'm hitting the wrong buttons over here. Yeah, so that's all that we have from Coach Dave Canales as he talks about, hey, a loss is a loss. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And that's something that, you could get agitated about as a fan. But let me tell you this, guys in that locker room, they appreciate that even keel of Coach Dave Canales because, it's helpful when you're doing good not to get too high, not to get too confident, not to get too cocky. And then when you go low, it helps you not to get too low, not to get too down on yourself and, think, okay, this ship is sinking. You got to remember it's definitely a disappointing loss, definitely not a loss at all that you imagined would happen. The good thing, I don't know how many people appreciate this at this moment. I feel like it should be appreciated a little bit, but the Carolina Panthers are still a 500 team, right? And so what I want to see from this is Dave Canales has had many times during this season, even though we're just halfway through it, where you see something good, something bad, something horrible, something great. And they're continuing to find their way through it to get to being a team that has a winning culture. So now we're going to see a really, really big test. We just got whooped at home. We haven't got whooped at home all season. This was our first home loss. And now we're going to be on the road against the Green Bay Packers. That's going to be next Monday at 1 o'clock in Green Bay. And so that's a solid team. That's a really good team. Actually our schedule gets tougher at this point. So you want to see how this team responds next week against the Green Bay Packers. Will they come back and continue to produce what I feel is a team that can win in any given Sunday, or are they going to collapse and start to take some steps back? We'll see. But we got to speak with the Red Rifle as well after the game today, so we're going to go ahead and cue up some of these highlights from Andy Dalton's press conference here. I'll share those with you in just a second. Let me get back to it. All right. We're going to go to Andy here. And we're going to go to Andy on the loss today.
you know, it's tough. Obviously, I've got to do a better job protecting the ball, and especially at that point, early in the game, we had momentum, and we were going down to score, and got to hold on to it.
All right, so Andy had another point where he talked about his play today, which we all know was not up to what we would have liked it to have been. So going to play a clip on Andy talking about his play today.
We obviously can play anywhere near the type of football that we know that we can play. So, I mean, yeah, you can say it's a measuring stick, but I think at the end of the day, we didn't even give ourselves a chance. And that, you know, for me, I didn't give this team a chance. So, you know, it wasn't our day today. They obviously played really good on their side of the ball. And for us, we got to just move forward. It's on to the next. I mean, it's how this thing goes. We all count one. And so,
We actually got one more clip of Andy here talking about his play today and how he's emotionally reacting to it. So we're going to play that clip for you guys as well.
it's tough. And that's the nature of this business, unfortunately. Because I didn't play like I was capable of playing. I felt like I didn't give us a chance. And, yeah, it's tough. So I know what I've been able to do and know what I can do. And so to not play to the standard that you expect, I mean, that's why it's tough. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time I'm out there, I want to play good ball. And you never know how many more you're going to get. And you know, I was looking forward to being out there today. And yeah, it's just it's tough from that standpoint too, because you never know when the next one's going to come.
All right, so there you see some of the comments from Andy Dalton. And obviously, he's not happy with the way he played today. You can see it written all over his place. You can see it in his body language that he's like, well, it seems like, well, dang, you know, I didn't expect to go out there and light it up, but I didn't expect to stink it up as bad as I did. And what he said there is very telling of why he's down, right? He knows that he's not going to be in this league forever, knows he's coming near the end of that road. Who knows if it's going to be this year, right? But certainly when you see yourself playing like that, it will make you put your head down for a second and think about exactly, you know, do some reevaluations. And right now, we don't know what's to come from Bryce Young and his ability to play next week in Green Bay. I feel pretty optimistic about it in terms of him playing next week, because it seemed, and I know there was a lot of coach talk going on earlier this week about, oh, well, I know there's a report out there that he could play this week. I'm sorry, that he will not play this week, but we feel like he can. And Bryce wants to push it, and we had him out there today, so we'll see how he looks on Wednesday. You know, Wednesday we didn't see him with a boot on. He had quite a normal walk, and there's plenty of video footage put out there by, you know, some by us, Charlotte Vibe, where you saw Bryce walking around looking quite normal, and saw him doing some drills on the sideline where he's running. So for me, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that Bryce could come back next week, and we'll continue to see. You know, we'll continue to monitor it. And I think there was a comment earlier about the fact that we may need to consider a younger backup quarterback, and I'm sure they will, right? I'm sure that's something they'll think about after this point. But up until today, they didn't have Andy having to come out there for an extended period, so they didn't know. But, you know, they know he's a good leader. He's been working with Bryce for 3 years now, and they like that, and they want to keep that together. But certainly at this point, it seems like you may want to start going ahead and looking closer at the next backup that you'll have for Bryce Young. Also got a few comments and things out of the locker room. Give me 1 second. All right, got a DB like Ian Rappaport here going to the phone here. So one comment that Ikem Ekwonu had in the locker room was, in regards to the Bills' defense, it seemed like they knew what was coming, and that's a short comment from Icky, but it says a lot. It seems like they knew what was coming. That means that you're trying stuff and you tried it as good as you could, but it's like, man, that guy already knew I was going to my right. That guy already knew there was going to be a run play. That guy already knew this. And then you go to the sidelines, you have your meetings in the locker room at halftime. That's a big time for adjustments. You come back out, and it's like, man, I can't shake this guy. Like they know what's coming. And I mean, part of it is just knowing what's coming and then being able to stop it. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills have struggled recently with those losses to Atlanta and the loss to New England, but they're still looked at as one of the top teams in the league. Good, powerful guys that could win some matchups. And that's what happened today. Sean McDermott is a very, very good defensive-minded head coach. That's what he did here, making a good living here in Carolina, was being a defensive-minded coach. So you give a coach like that has already shown that he has the ability to come and coach off of a bye week extremely well. You have a team that had to run defense. And to me, I got to go back and look at the film for the entire game. But I know early on it just seemed like, man, if these guys just go tossing to the left, they're just cooking on us. This Cook is cooking on us going to the left. I don't know how much they end up spreading that around outside of just that left, but I know at the beginning of the game, that's all it was. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep going. But, again, a very, very good game, unfortunately, by the Buffalo Bills. A very, very poor game, unfortunately, by the Carolina Panthers, resulting in today's final score of Carolina 9, Buffalo Bills 40. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some stats from today. Stats always tell the story of the game as well. And no particular. Let's go to the rushing stats for the Buffalo Bills, because our defense struggled quite a bit today. And here, I talked about it. James Cook, 19 carries. That is just not a lot of carries at all for 216 yards. Buffalo Bills as a whole had 245 yards. 2 touchdowns. His 64-yard run was his long. That's just awful. And the Carolina Panthers have been playing some extremely good defense. I forget the exact stat, but I want to say the past 3 games in which they've been on this win streak, the Carolina Panthers, they had allowed total in those 3 games less than 150 yards rushing in 3 games. So that's like about a 50-yard average. And then to go to getting 214, it's crazy. And, I don't know at what point in the fourth quarter, definitely by the midway point, it might have been as early as the 10 or 12-minute mark, they started putting in their subs, easing off the gas a little bit. Easily could have been something worse than that. Let's continue to work through some of these stats from today. Look at the defense for the Carolina Panthers, and we did get some sacks. It looks like we got 2 sacks today. Trevin Wallace getting 1, then Nick Scorton and Ashawn Robinson sharing on a sack. Christian Roseboom led tackles with 12, Nick Scott with 8, Trevin with 7. That's a look at the defense. No interceptions today, no turnovers today by the defense. So that's tough, especially when you're turning the ball over as much as we were turning the ball over today. And we do got one picture that I forgot to show here, because I am about to talk about this, because I forgot to mention the injuries. As a matter of fact, there's one of the injuries that took place today, Brady Christensen. And I strongly believe that Brady Christensen is the guy that unfortunately has an injury that will have him out for the remainder of the season. Sorry, I had to take a little drink of water. Yeah, Brady Christensen got hurt. Let's go down the full list of injuries from today, as a matter of fact, that I have on file, which is Taylor Moton had went out with a knee injury. And then we had Jimmy Horn Jr. that was dealing with a shoulder injury after a pretty hard hit on his run. We had Cade Mays go out with an ankle injury. Trevin Wallace with a concussion. Brady Christensen being the most severe with the I don't want to say what it was because I know I forget, but it's definitely he's going to be out for a while. But Brady Christensen and then Derek Brown, I forget what his injury was, but Coach did say that for Derek it was more so like, let's just shut it down. There's no need to keep any of our starters out there that's getting even the slightest bit of banged up when you're going to have a game that obviously the outcome is already decided and you're just trying to make it to the next week and get ready for the Green Bay Packers. So, again, that list was Taylor Moton with a knee, Jimmy Horn Jr. with a shoulder, Cade Mays with an ankle, Trevin Wallace suffering a head injury with a concussion, Brady Christensen with his ankle, and then Derek Brown. So I want to make sure I went back and got that information out there on the injuries. Now let's go to the offensive side. Andy Dalton did not have, in my opinion, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, right? Andy Dalton definitely had a bad game. Absolutely had a bad game by those turnovers. Absolutely bad. And did not see that kind of game coming. Again, if you look at it, Andy Dalton, a lot of times when he was getting sacked today or the troubles that he had today, they were just like mind-boggling, really, really mind-boggling. Number one, if you know that you're not agile, you're not the quickest, you're not the slightest of feet, then you got to be prepared to have that clock ticking in your head, more so than, younger quarterbacks. You know that you only have so much time in the NFL to make a decision, get the ball out of your hands, and start to run for your life. And Andy was just so many times just flat-footed, just like right there, just kind of like, oops, like expecting guys to just fall off of him like he has oil or something on his jersey, and it didn't happen. So for me, that was the biggest disappointment from Andy today, was like the decision-making when it was time to, plan A didn't work, let's go to plan B. What I did like, for what it's worth, is Andy does stand tall in the pocket very well, looks down the field very well, and he'll get the ball down the field. So his average yard per pass, as you see here, was 7.3. Bryce usually doesn't get that high. So there was a moment where I was excited about what could happen with Andy today. His completion percentage was pretty fair for an NFL quarterback. But, 1 interception, 2 fumbles, 3 turnovers, that just makes you can't be fair as a passer. You can't be good. You'd have to be beyond excellent to overcome something like that. You need like 300-plus yards, 4 touchdowns kind of day to overcome that. Even as I say 4 touchdowns, that would have been 28 points. They had 40, so that still would not have been enough in this case. But Andy Dalton certainly didn't help give the Carolina Panthers much of a chance today. Let's go to the receiving side. Of course, you're not going to see too much, but what you will see in this is Tetairoa McMillan returning to the status of standout rookie. He had a slow game, which you're going to expect from a rookie at this point, but he had a slow game last week up in New York. Bounced back today, nearly having a 100-yard game. 7 catches for 99 yards with a 14-yard average on 10 targets. So that's, he easily was the number 1 target today. Jalen Coker continued to recover from his hamstring injury that he had in his second game back and was able to get 3 catches for 36. Jatavius Sanders, Xavier Legette, 2 for 17, 8.5. That's not what we expected. That's not what we wanted. That is what we got. So Xavier's still going up and down, right? Up and down. And you'll see the rest of the list there for our wide receivers. Let's go over to the rushing. And we're going to talk about this rushing performance here. All right, so Chuba Hubbard got the most carries, 12 carries, 34 yards, 2.8-yard average. Got the TD at the very end. His long was 5 yards. Rico Dowdle, 8 carries, 54 yards, 6.8. All right, I'm going to come back to the screen here, and this is going to be a rant. Chris Jenkins ever made a rant. I do not like what is going on with our running backs. And I know you can say historically your running backs split. They split carries. They ultimately may split carries as far as Rico and Chuba goes. But here's my plea to Dave Canales, Dan Morgan if he has a vote, David Tepper as well. Rico in spite of having significant reduction in carries, in spite of getting a start, in spite of the limited opportunities that he had, he is still running his butt off. He did the same thing last week against the New York Jets. He did the same thing this week against the Buffalo Bills. Put the stat back up here again. Chuba, 2.8, 5-yard long. Rico, 24 yards, 6.8. It is time that, like, Dave, I understand what you're trying to do. Keep both guys going for the long haul. But right now, can we please have a meeting and let these running backs know that we're going to start with maybe even fine. Let Chuba start. But I feel like at the least change your coaching philosophy to say if a guy is hot, we may decide to continue to rock with that guy for multiple series. You don't even have to say he's going to be the guy for the rest of the game. But instead of saying every other series, give Rico the freaking ball for multiple series to have him give yourselves a chance to win. You cannot tell me that a run game does not solve a lot of problems. A run game that eats up the clock, all right? So Andy Dalton, he was your guy that was losing the game for you by far today. Interceptions, turnovers, all right? If you now take Andy Dalton where he does not have to drop back, you hand the ball to Rico Dowdle, and he's getting 5, 7, 8 yards to carry, you can ride that out. You can take some time off the clock, and you can score some points. Give Rico the ball. Chuba can still, once the juice runs out of Rico, then go ahead and give it back to Chuba and say we can go back to this 50-50 split. But here's my biggest criticism of the 50-50 split for Rico and Chuba is that it has not worked all season long. It's not worked all season long. Like Chuba earlier in the season, he might have had a few games where it was better, but it was nowhere near the inequity that you see right now, right? So change it up. This is 8 games. You've had 6 with them splitting. There's no stat that jumps out at you from the run game in those 6 games in which they split. You have 2 games in which Rico was the standalone running back, and it was phenomenal. Please go back to it. All right, that's the biggest rant I could have on a game day to continue to get through the show. Well, let's see. We just did the rushing. I think that takes us through it all, right? We did the defense, the passing, receiving, the rushing. Yeah. That gets us through all of it. And I got a few more things that I want to share with you guys really quickly. Then we'll try to take a few questions before we get out of here from today's broadcast. Again, we got one more super chat that we're in need of. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's see how many likes we're up to right now. We got 30 likes. Let's get to 50 likes. So everybody watching right now, do me a solid. Just go ahead and hit that like button. Help us get to 50. Help the YouTube algorithm show this video to more people. I think we are the only live interactive broadcast that you're going to see covering this team that does it every single week straight from the field, that gives you this content and then interacts with you. So I think for that, you should give us a like button. Help us get to 50,000 subscribers. Again, everybody watching right now, it's not going to cost you nothing. I promise. It won't hurt you. It won't track anything. It'll just help our video. So shoot that number up to 50 likes. We'd appreciate that very much. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings currently in the NFL. I'll just verbally tell you guys to give this an update. In the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are currently playing the New Orleans Saints, but right now, without that game being final, the Bucs are atop at 5-2, number 1 in the division, and then Carolina Panthers are 4-4 after today's loss to the Buffalo Bills. Atlanta Falcons are currently 3-4, again playing. No, they're not playing the Bucs right now. They're 3-4, and then the New Orleans Saints are 1-6. Let's go ahead and try to give you some score updates. Currently, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lead the New Orleans Saints 7-0 in that game, and then we have the Dolphins whooping up on the Atlanta Falcons to bring them to 3-4. Again, final score in that matchup for the Dolphins was Dolphins 34, Atlanta 10. That game was in Atlanta. And then you have the Bills beating down the Panthers today. And, yeah, so that'll give you the complete NFC South picture. And give me just a second here, guys. Just want to make sure I got through all of my things that I wanted to talk about, which looks like I did. There's one other thing that I want to talk about with the mistakes today. So we picked on Andy, deservingly so, with his unusually poor decision making. I wouldn't be so mad at his athleticism being what it is, but the decision making that came with it was just catastrophic. The ending to that first half, again, was another Andy Dalton, like, what the heck is going on kind of moment, right? You know that you do not have any more timeouts. You know that if you do not complete the pass, that you need to throw the ball away. Like, the last thing that you want to do is take a sack. So he does. He takes a sack on third down. Field goal unit comes out there. Hats off to them. Great job of coming out there to try to kick the field goal. And I say try to because they miss, I don't know the exact distance, but a 30-something yarder. Let's say 35. I know it wasn't exactly 35, but I'm sure I'm within 2 yards plus or minus on that. Misses the 30-something yard field goal. And it's like, man, what an ending. There was an opportunity to put some points on the board and maybe give yourself a chance to win. Just like you did early when you were coming down here about to score and Andy's, turns the ball over. It's like, man, that was another. I mean, at this point in the game, it was 3-6 through that first half, right? 3-6. It's not an exciting game, but it's a game in which you have an opportunity to win. And then Cook gets that 64-yarder, and then at that point they just, Buffalo puts on the afterburners and lights out. But special teams missed a field goal, and then we missed an extra point. So everything just fell apart. Special teams missing field goals. Special teams missing extra points. Andy Dalton with turnovers. Andy Dalton with some more turnovers. Defense just not having any kind of answer for Cook whatsoever. And you have what you have. All right, let's try to get through a few questions before we get out of here today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. We still got 13 more likes that I want to get. So again, we got 152 people watching. I just want 13 people to just kindly tap their phone if they're on tap their phone, hit the like button. If you're on your desktop, hit the like button as well. All right. Let's see if we can get through a few comments before we get on out of here. And for Life says, well, since Chris is man of the people and true good dude, let's all like this live for him and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. What she said. I'm sorry, Bryce Young completion percentage is garbage level. Now, I'm going to tell you, before the game, I had the feeling of, okay, there's not like this huge difference between Bryce and Andy. Yes, there are differences. Yes, Bryce is the better quarterback at the moment. But I wasn't seeing it like Superman All-Pro versus scrub off the bench, right? Andy does some things that Bryce doesn't do, so I felt like also with the wisdom of Andy Dalton that he could play a controlled game, and we didn't get that. We so did not get a controlled game from Andy Dalton. Yeah, thank you guys. Brady was his Achilles. Andy looked slow out there, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to try to get through some of these questions before we get out of here. Definitely time to upgrade the quarterback room. So, yeah, I think, I feel like the coaching staff was probably shocked themselves today at what they got out of Andy Dalton. I know that they already have a clock on Andy, right? I'm pretty sure Dan Morgan and company already knew we're probably at the end of our rope with Andy, but we feel comfortable trying to get another year out of him. He knows the system. He does pretty solid when he comes in here. He has that veteran mind that, again, when you have a backup, especially a backup at the age of Andy Dalton, you're just expecting them to come out and manage the game. You expect to have a guy that understands the game plan, that understands the coach's directions, and you feel more confidence in that than a guy that may be a gunslinger, that may have a stronger arm, that may have better feet. But if he's young, you're just like, I don't know if he can capture all these detailed moments that could still help us in spite of our not having our starting quarterback. And you just didn't get that from Andy today. So they have a pretty good scouting department, and I'm sure they already got some things lined up. And Andy probably subconsciously knows that I'm going to enjoy this last season here in Carolina. Again, just trying to go through some comments here. T. Green saying Moreg had a pretty good game. Had a bad game. Moreg had a bad game. All right, again, just quickly seeing if I can get through another comment or two. That game was horrible. All right. Rico needs to be first and second down back. Yeah, Josh, I will take that. I will take that. Rico, your first and second down guy. Bring out Chuba for your third down to give Rico that break. Let Chuba pass block for the quarterback. Or if Chuba needs to go out to catch a little swing pass or something like that, or even run a route, he can do that. So I'm not saying that his hands are terrible compared to Rico's, but I'm just 100% against using these guys the way that we are, because there's nothing that shows in this history through 8 games that Carolina can effectively use Rico and Chuba. Even they tried something different with having both of those guys in the backfield, direct snapping it to, I forget which one, but both running backs in the backfield, direct snapping it, and that's still not getting anything, right? So for me, try something different. I forget what they call it, but if you try something 3 times over and over and over and it's not working, go to something else, please. Thank you for the comment, Josh. Let's see if we can get to another comment out here. Rory Blake on agent. My name is on the building, PS holder, so I'm here long term. Hard loss today. Hey, Rory, it was a hard loss, but we're still 500, and we head up to Green Bay next week, and it's a chance for some adjustments. I still feel like this team has entered the we're in any game on any Sunday. This was a bad one. I feel like Canales is getting his team to where they need to be. Today was a bad day for sure, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I feel like this team is still one that you can start to get some confidence in, that you'll see a competitive game. Absolutely didn't see that today, but you'll get a competitive game out of this team. Let's look for one more comment before we bust on out of here. Some of you guys not happy here. Let's get to these super chats. That's what we're going to do before we get out of here. Maybe we'll get that one more before we get out of here. Maybe we'll get that one more. Let's see. All right, let's go over these super chats before we get out of here, because super chats are what keep this station on the air, literally. Carolina boy with a super chat. Andy should get a nice charity donation from the Bills. Yes, Andy Dalton did play for the Buffalo Bills, and man, that wasn't a good game today. Appreciate you, Carolina boy, for your support. Thank you. And let's go ahead and go to our super chat from Q. Hey, man. Q. Appreciate you, man. Need it. Thank you, sir. I know you might have, hopefully you're still watching, because I know those super chats came through at the very beginning. Hopefully you're still watching. If not, hopefully watch the rebroadcast. Or if you know Q, make sure you let him know, or her. I'm assuming a him, for my ignorance possibly. But thank you so much for the support. I'm just here to support the channel. Keep on pounding. So you guys, anytime that you're able to support us financially, I appreciate it tremendously. On game day, I always want to give a big shout out to my staff. Yes, you may only see myself on camera unless you checked in the pregame show. You would have seen our, I don't know what to call her, but our queen of it all, Ashley Stroline, doing her thing, helping support the channel, managing our Twitter throughout the day, and our social media, and then for our post game, feeding me all the information from what's going on in the locker room, as well as our presence with Coach Dave Canales and Bryce Young. So that's another part of the team. And then, as you all know, Patrick Snyder, each and every single week, rain, snow, sleet, or shine, giving us photographs from the game, whether it's a good game, bad game, or in the middle. So your Super Chats help support all three of us that are doing our things on game day. So thank you all very, very much. Let me just make sure that we did not get a Super Chat on the Cash App before I get out of here. We did not, so I'm not missing one there. That's going to be all for today, live here from Bank of America Stadium, as the Carolina Panthers now fall to 4-4, 500 on the season. They travel up to Green Bay to take on the Packers next week. That game is at 1 o'clock. I want to invite everybody to tune in tomorrow as we have our day after show, where it's a call-in show, 100% dedicated to taking your questions, your comments, being your therapist, whatever you need us to be. Or, sometimes we have a little personal conversation as well. But I just really enjoy connecting with my community that supports the channel, as you guys do so well, and I'm so grateful for. That'll begin to be tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That is all for today. I'm Chris Jenkins reporting live from Bank of America Stadium for Charlotte Vibe.